The cargo plane hit the sandbar at 200 knots. Now silence, except for the hiss of dying electronics. 14 bodies in the wreckage, some still strapped in their seats. The ocean does not care about a passenger manifest.
Alive. The solar panel, it's still intact. That changes everything.
You there, can you move? We're going to die out here.
But Kazu was already counting. One solar panel, 400 watts, a dozen lithium battery cells, scrap aluminum fuselage, seawater, and every formula in his head. That panel was not just power. It was the seed of an entire industrial ecosystem.
Enough lithium cells to store power. With seawater and aluminum, I can start.
First step, split seawater into hydrogen and oxygen. He would need glass, copper, and a way to focus his mind past the screaming.
Stop drawing in the dirt. We need water, shelter, a signal fire, anything.
The other survivor didn't understand yet. This disaster was not their end. It was a blank factory floor.
Listen, that panel can split seawater into fuel. If you want to live, help me scavenge every piece of glass and copper you can find.
He sketched a simple electrolysis cell in the sand. 2 electrodes, salt water, a power source. Leo stared at the diagram as if it were a foreign language. They picked through the wreckage. Beach glass from a shattered window. Copper wire stripped from the radar array. A plastic bottle for the cell.
And this will give us water. I don't see how bubbles help.
Hydrogen first, then high heat, then glass, then metal. One step at a time.
The cell was crude. A glass jar, copper electrodes, seawater. Kazu connected the lithium cells. A faint current stirred the brine. Then, from the submerged wire, a stream of tiny bubbles rose. Hydrogen. The first industrial process on this sandbar had begun.
It's working. Now, I need to collect the hydrogen and build a torch.
Bubbles. Great. We're saved.
In the sand, Kazu drew the next piece. A nozzle to focus the hydrogen flame hot enough to melt glass. The real work was about to start.
Find me a narrow metal tube. Fuel line, hydraulic pipe, anything. We need to focus the hydrogen.
They scavenged a section of aluminum tubing from the landing gear. Kazu crimped one end to a pinprick, connected the gas line, and checked the seals.
If this lights without backfiring, we've got a glass furnace.
The hydrogen torch sputtered alive. A needle of blue flame, almost invisible, but hot enough to make the air shimmer. Kazu aimed the flame at a pile of quartz sand. The grains glowed orange, then white, fusing into a molten blob of translucent glass.
You are turning sand into glass? That's insane.
He worked the blob with a wet wooden paddle, shaping it into a rough bowl, a crucible, crude but capable of holding molten metal.
Primitive, but it'll hold aluminum. One crucible leads to another.
They left the crucible to cool, smoking on the sand. Leo touched it tentatively, as if it were a miracle.
Now the real work begins. With that crucible, we can smelt aluminum from the fuselage. That gets us ingots. Ingots become tools. Tools become a machine shop. Load the scrap into the crucible and keep the torch flame centered. I'll handle the tongs. Don't jostle anything.
The aluminum strips wilted, then slumped into a mirror-bright puddle. 1,000-degree soup held in a bowl of beach glass.
If I screw this up, we lose the crucible. And maybe my foot.
Kazu signaled the pour. Leo lifted the crucible tongs. His hand trembled, and the molten load sloshed toward the lip.
Steady. Back off. Let it settle.
The stream steadied and filled the sand mold. But the near spill left a scorch mark on the ground and a cold fear in Kazu's gut. An hour later, a silver bar steamed on the sand. Their first aluminum ingot.
See? It worked. I didn't drop it.
Barely. If you can't hold steady, we'll have a different conversation next time.
The ingot was perfect, but the partnership had a hairline crack, invisible and waiting to open.
Next, a lathe. Rigid frame, rotating spindle, cutting tool. Precision is everything here.
He sketched the design, a wooden bed reinforced with aluminum, a hand-cranked spindle, a tool rest from salvaged steel.
More sketches. More theory. I just want to make the bolts and get on with it.
They shaped the bed from a wing spar, but the tailstock bracket snapped under Leo's impatient stroke.
You never force it. Every part took a week to make, and now it's scrap.
The bracket was irreplaceable. Without it, the lathe was useless. Kazu stared, recalculating in silence.
Forge a replacement from the fuselage strut. It'll cost a day, but the lathe is non-negotiable.
2 days later, the spindle turned true. The first curl of aluminum peeled away from a slowly threading groove.
Look at that. A real bolt, threads and all. We made it from scrap.
The bolt worked. But the lathe had cost them a week of patience and a piece of their truce.
20 more bolts then. We start the tracking frame. That panel needs to follow the sun.
The lathe hummed, a metal bolt every 20 minutes. Slow, but it was production.
Mount this pivot here. The mirror array will boost output by 40%.
40% more power. Maybe we can have lights at night.
Beside the tracker, they laid out copper tubing and a sheet of salvaged glass. The desalination still was taking shape.
Kazu, look at the horizon.
A wall of sand rolled in from the east. They scrambled to cover the solar panel and the unfinished instruments.
If sand gets into the lathe bearings, we start over.
The storm passed in an hour. The tracker's mirror array was warped. The desalination glass was cracked. They had visible damage and invisible gains. The bolts held. The tracker frame stood. Tomorrow they would rebuild.
Straighten those mirrors. Even 1 degree off, and we lose the tracking gain.
By noon, the mirrors caught the sun again. The tracking arm pivoted with a soft creak, following the arc of daylight.
Watching the tracker move, it's like the island is breathing now.
The desalination still took longer. They had to recoat the condensation glass and seal the copper joints with resin, made from coral and ash. Then, in the late afternoon, a single drop gathered on the cooled glass and slipped into the wooden cup. Another drop. Then, a slow, steady trickle, fresh water.
Is it really drinkable?
Try it.
It's like nothing. No salt, just clean.
That glass of water meant more than the ingot or the bolt. It meant their industrial chain was complete. Now they needed a way to tell the world.
We need more aluminum for the radio chassis. A proper forge, with forced air, will double our melt rate.
They built it from fire brick, torn out of the galley oven, and a bellows stitched from a life raft.
Let me work the bellows. I can keep the heat steady.
Kazu watched. Leo's strokes were even now, his hands sure. The earlier clumsiness had burned away in the heat of the work.
He's finally learning. Maybe I can trust him with the next stage.
By sunset, they had poured 3 new ingots, enough material for a radio transmitter frame and antenna mount.
A radio needs vacuum tubes, but we can build a spark gap transmitter with the right coil and capacitor.
A spark gap? Like the early radios? You really do know how to build anything.
I once designed a zero infrastructure factory for a flood zone. This island is just a smaller version.
The next hurdle was not metal or electricity, but time. Every day they didn't call out. The shipping lanes remained empty. They raised a mast from the tail section and strung copper wire. The antenna pointed skyward like a skeletal finger.
Power on. Listen for anything. A carrier wave, Morse, voice.
The receiver crackled to life. Nothing but the raw static of an empty frequency.
It's just noise. Maybe there's nothing out there.
Wait. I hear a pattern. A rhythm beneath the static.
A faint Morse signal broke through. CQ, 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 DE-KL7. A distant ham station hundreds of miles away.
KL7. That's an American ham, maybe Alaska. But the signal is weak, 500 miles at least.
So we can hear them, but they can't hear us. What's the point?
We build a transmitter strong enough to answer. Even if it takes our last sheet of aluminum.
That faint signal lit a fuse. Now, they needed a transmitter bright enough to cross an ocean. The vacuum tube, a week's labor of glass blowing, slipped from Leo's sweating fingers. It struck the coral with a sound that ended all their plans. A galaxy of glass splinters scattered across the sand. The transmitter's heart was gone, and with it, their link to the world.
The only vacuum tube on this entire sandbar. You've killed our last chance. Do you understand what you've done?
I am sorry. The wave came from nowhere. I tried to hold it.
Leo didn't finish. He turned and stumbled into the wreckage, the shattering sound echoing in his ears. The darkness inside the fuselage swallowed him whole.
I ruined everything. Maybe I should just disappear into the sea.
Kazu stood alone, staring at the shards that glinted like cold stars. The silence between them was sharper than any blade. 2 survivors, a shattered tube, and a gulf wider than the ocean. The heat of anger cooled into something heavier. Kazu walked into the wreck, following the sound of muffled sobs. He found Leo in the tail section, knees drawn to his chest, face hidden in his hands, surrounded by the dead they had left behind.
Every accident, every mistake, I am just a curse. I should have stayed in my seat. I am terrified of dying alone out here, but I am even more terrified that I'll drag you down with me.
You are not a curse. I lost my family in a flood 10 years ago. I built walls around myself ever since. Every project since then has been about control. But control can't save anyone from a cracked tube or a broken heart.
He lost everything, and he still managed to build all this. He's not just an engineer. He's surviving the same nightmare.
In the silence that followed, the dead seemed less like accusations and more like witnesses to a truth finally spoken.
We're both carrying ghosts. Maybe that's enough common ground to start again.
The vacuum tube was still a galaxy of splinters, but they climbed out of the fuselage side by side.
There is another way. A semiconductor diode from copper oxide. No vacuum, no glass. It can replace the tube.
From scratch. We have no lab, no pure materials. Can we really make something that complex?
He sketched a lump of cuprous oxide between 2 electrodes, a junction that could pass current in one direction. Crude, but possible. They scavenged thin copper wire, powdered silica from beach sand, and a zinc plate from a dead battery. All the raw ingredients for a crude semiconductor. The forge glowed as Leo pumped the bellows. Kazu placed the copper wire in the hottest zone, watching it turn cherry red.
We must oxidize the surface, then dope it with zinc vapor in the flame. That will form the p-n junction.
Tell me what to do. I want to get this right. I owe you that.
Together, they heated the metal in bursts, quenching it in seawater and baking it again until a dark film bloomed on the copper surface.
This one won't slip. I'll hold it steady, even if my hands burn.
By sunset, a crude diode sat cooling on the anvil, their second chance forged from the same sand that had swallowed the vacuum tube. The next morning, a gray smudge broke the horizon. A container ship, steaming south.
The mirror. Angle it to the bridge. Rapid flashes. Anything to catch their eye.
For 20 minutes, they flashed sunlight at the distant hull. The ship neither slowed nor turned.
It's just slipping away. All that work for nothing.
They won't rescue us. So we rescue ourselves. We build something they can't ignore.
Like what? We're 2 castaways on a sandbar.
Number. We're a provisional republic with power, water, and industry. We raise a flag and declare our existence.
A flag? That's actually insane, but it might work.
They found a white sheet in the galley and began to paint. A gold sun on a field of blue, an emblem of stolen light. The diode still needed testing, but now they had a reason to survive beyond rescue. They had a country. At dawn, they raised the flag on a driftwood pole. Kazu saluted, Leo tied the halyard. The wind caught the golden sun, and for a moment, the sandbar felt like a nation.
We are the Provisional Republic of Sol Invictus. By the power of that panel, we declare our sovereignty.
They turned back to the forge. The diode needed a cathode contact, a hair-thin wire of zinc. Failure was not an option. The sky gave no warning. One moment sun, the next a black wall of sand. The second storm was worse than the first.
Cover the tracker. I'll secure the flag.
The storm tore at the flag, even as Leo clung to the pole. A sharp crack split the canvas, but the stitching held. The emblem remained intact. After the wind died, they stitched the torn fabric with salty hands. The sun emblem was smudged but whole, a nation repaired. The diode tests resumed. A faint current passed in one direction only. The junction was alive.
It's not a perfect rectifier, but it might be enough.
The flag snapped in the breeze above them, a stubborn promise. The radio transmitter was almost ready. They wired the diode into the transmitter. Its darkened copper chip, a crude heart, in a nest of salvaged wire.
Powering on. If this works, we'll hear something other than static.
The transmitter hummed. Then the speaker erupted in familiar hiss. No signal, no voice, no Morse.
Still just noise. Did the diode fail?
For hours they adjusted the tuning coil, swapped capacitors, lifted the antenna higher. The static remained.
The rectification might be too weak. The oscillator can't sustain.
By dusk, the static was unchanged. Leo sat with his back against the transmitter, staring at the flag.
Maybe we were fools to think we could build a radio from sand.
Number. Every component checks out, except the diode. We'll rebuild it. Again, if we have to.
The sun set over Sol Invictus, but no distant voice answered. Only the endless whisper of the sea. By the third morning, the transmitter still emitted only static. Kazu woke before dawn and began rewinding the oscillator coil.
I am trying a new tap point. If we can increase the Q factor, we might punch through the noise.
He connected the power, and the speaker hissed. Then, beneath the static, a faint, rhythmic voice. Secure it. This is Vessel Pacific Glory, with automated weather warning. Gale force winds expected in Area 46 North, 152 West.
A voice. It's a recording, but it's real. The transmitter works.
The diode is rectifying. Our carrier wave is out there.
They listened to the looped warning 3 times, as if it were a benediction, but it was a one-way street. No one had answered.
We need an amplifier. Boost the signal from milliwatts to something a ship can hear.
They scavenged a transistor from the cockpit intercom and built a crude amplifier around the existing coil. By afternoon, the transmitter was louder, its voice a sharp crackle on the emergency band. But still, no ship called back.
Mayday. Mayday. Survivors on emergency frequency. Any vessel, please respond.
He transmitted the call every 15 minutes. The speaker returned only static. Then a voice crackled through. Gruff, male, with the unhurried weight of command.
Unidentified station. This is Tanker Oceanus. We copy your distress. Say position and status.
Oceanus, survivor Kazu, at coordinates 48 north, 150 west. We are safe, with power and water. You are calling the territory of the Provisional Republic of Sol Invictus, requesting assistance and trade.
A republic out there? Are you all right, son?
Kazu repeated the coordinates and their self-declared status. There was a long pause.
We're 200 miles out. Diverting now. Expect arrival in 18 hours. Oceanus, out.
The carrier lost contact, and the island fell silent again. But now there was a thread stretching across the sea. The 18 hours passed like a slow tide. Kazu stood by the flagpole at first light, scanning the empty horizon.
There, a black dot. It's them, isn't it?
That smudge is too big for a fishing boat. It has to be them.
The gray speck grew into the unmistakable silhouette of a large tanker. It was real. Kazu washed the salt from his face and put on the cleanest shirt they had. It was bleached by sun and stitched with fishing line, but it was a uniform.
They'll see a sovereign nation, not a castaway. Raise the flag higher.
Leo pulled the halyard until the gold sun snapped taut against the blue. The flag of Sol Invictus flew higher than ever before. A small motor launch detached from the tanker and cut a white wake toward the sandbar.
What if they think we're crazy? What if they just laugh?
Let them laugh. We have purified water and a solar panel that built this nation from nothing. That's not a joke.
The rubber hull scraped onto the coral. A grizzled man in a captain's uniform stepped over the gunwale, his boots sinking into the wet sand. Captain Harris looked from the flag to the solar tracker to the forge. His expression shifted from rescue to disbelief.
You said you had power and water. I didn't expect a factory.
Welcome to the Provisional Republic of Sol Invictus. Would you care for a glass of fresh water? We produce 20 liters a day.
He handed the captain a cup. The water was cool and pure, nothing like the sea.
This isn't a survival camp. You've built a damn water plant.
Kazu gave a brief tour. The still, the forge, the lathe, the radio. Each piece had a story.
And you say this all started with one solar panel? How long have you been here?
Kazu didn't answer. He gestured to the flag and the tracking panel.
I'll be honest, I've never seen anything like this. If you want to trade water for supplies, I am listening. And who exactly do I trade with? You got a government on this sandbar.
Provisional Executive Council of One. All treaties ratified by solar-powered consensus.
So who's in charge?
I am. And if your ship needs refueling, we can synthesize hydrogen.
The captain stared at the flag, then at the tracking array, then back at the man in the bleached shirt.
You are offering to refuel my tanker from a desert island.
Captain Harris didn't laugh long. He looked around the island, taking in the silent story of survival and industry.
All right, President Kazu, let's talk trade.
He used the title without irony. The first external acknowledgement of a micronation born from wreckage, seawater, and a single solar panel. The panel that had started it all continued to hum, powering the still, the radio, and the dream that had just been recognized. They traded 20 liters of purified water for a crate of medical supplies, proper tools, and a fresh stack of paper for future designs.
Real suture kits and antibiotics. We can actually treat injuries now.
I'll report your coordinates to the Maritime Authority. Whether they recognize a new nation, that's on them.
The motor launch backed away, and the great tanker turned its bow west. Kazu and Leo stood by their flag, watching it shrink.
We could leave with them. Start a new life somewhere else.
But this is our home now, right?
Home, with a forge, a flag, and a future.
The tanker's silhouette melted into the horizon. Above them, the flag caught the last light, and the solar panel tracked the dying sun. The Provisional Republic of Sol Invictus remained population 2. With the means to grow, one panel had lit a spark. Now it powered a nation. Morning, the forge was already warm, Leo's hammer ringing against an anvil. The sound was no longer a cry for rescue. It was the heartbeat of a country.
Every machine we built, every lesson learned, it's all still here. This place is self-perpetuating now.
Hey, Kazu. I think I can cast the next bearing without your help.
Then you are officially promoted to Chief Engineer of Sol Invictus.
The sun climbed higher, and the tracking array turned to meet it. The panel drinking in light that would become water, metal, and voice. The wreckage of the cargo plane still rested on the sandbar. But it was no longer a tomb. It was a monument. Kazu walked the perimeter of their tiny nation, past the desalination plant, the lathe, the flagpole. Each footprint was a claim. A single solar panel, 400 watts. From it, a chain of technology that had reached across the sea. The world outside would call it a sandbar. But to the two men standing under that flag, it was enough. The Provisional Republic of Sol Invictus, born from wreckage, built by sunlight, and just beginning.